I'm Robert. I'm also from the class of 2013. And I'm here today to declare my love for this. This is my most used editor I have. And it's one of the first I started using. But it's not the one I've used the most eventually, because during grammar school I've been using this one the most actually. We had an old PC. Later on in life, when I started developing as well, I started more using this one. And as of now, I'm mostly using this one. And I don't care for the editors themselves that much. But what I love about each of them is that they're all compatible with the same format. A format which was designed over 30 years ago. A flat text format. With a sturdiness in mind and a low-level approach which allowed for, to call it, forward compatibility. The idea was that the format should be usable in the future as it was back then, over 30 years ago. This is what completely is lacking in the blockchain space, and DLT space, to put it that way. Because we all know that from all of these, most of these will end up here, eventually. This is also the reason why we started working on Hybrix. As Bas mentioned, Hybrix is one of the projects working on interoperability from an agnostic approach. We're apolitical. We don't care about BTC, BCH, BSV. But we cannot predict which chain or ledger is going to win or is going to dominate, because they all have their own uses. So eventually they'll coexist in our expectations. And to go into the question, let's see, where's the thing? So to answer the question, is it too soon to think about interoperability? No. It is too soon to implement it on a level on which your business would be dependent. It is too soon to implement it on which governments or societies may depend upon it. It's not too soon to experiment, and it's fun. Our motivation to build Hybrix as a blockchain development platform and an API with which you can construct your blockchain solution for multiple blockchains at once came actually because of the lack of standardization, which currently is in place and which will be there for quite some time. The sector itself is about 10 years old, and I usually say there are no seniors yet. One of the problems with all these young projects is that the blockchains or ledgers or graphs usually have a lack of features when they're still young, still in development. They have a lack of documentation or a lack of available support, depending on the adoption of the project. There's a risk with that, of course. Once you're iterating, you might find out this project or this network is not scalable for the solution I'm trying to build, or it's not. It doesn't have the speed I'm looking for, or it doesn't have the storage opportunity or the verification model I want to use. For that, you want to work agnostically. You want to be able to work with any chain as possible. By the way, how many developers are here tonight? If I may have. Cool. Okay. So the idea is you have to be able to switch. You have to be able to move your logic. As Bas already mentioned, luckily, it's not the Holy Grail to put all your logic on the chain anymore. It's for some certain, for dApps, it's still, of course, a very viable logic way to create your service. But for most legacy environments, there's typically no use to put your business logic on a chain. the immutability or the data transfer and storage is the most important. So we created a platform, a multi-ledger API is what we call it, in which you can iterate on blockchains, which you can extract information or send and store it from them on-premise or online. It's free, it's open source, and we've been working on this since 2014. And I'm going to give a small demo of this. We started off in 2014 after the fall of Mt. Gox back then, or MT Gox, and it was a centralized organization. For those who may not remember, it was an exchange for Bitcoin back then, a centralized exchange. And back then, we were looking into building a DEX because these centralized exchanges weren't available yet. And we wanted to have an agnostic one because you never know which currency or token would eventually survive. And to be able to build one, you first have to build a wallet. So our first project was the Internet of Coins wallet, which was built upon this Hybrix environment, with which you could send and receive and manage your assets from any type of chain we have already integrated. Currently, we support over 400 projects on CoinMarketCap, and our aim is to eventually support all. It's a broad horizon, but it's not impossible. So I'm sticking to that price for combining them. Also because most projects are very open to cooperation and collaboration because they want to have their project available for other developers to work upon. As I mentioned, documentation is one of the missing elements. We decided that to make it easy, the API has to be as universal as possible. So what you can do is, once working and developing on Hybrix, as you can see, it immediately returns in any type of form your code you want. It had to be unified so that if you're creating business logic for one chain, let's say Ethereum, and the new CryptoKitties is coming out, you can't have your business offline for a day. So you have to be able to switch whatever your current commands are to another chain if you want to. And that's what we built in. Let's see. By the way, we're also agnostic about interoperability in the sense that if you can, it doesn't always mean that you should. I think maybe Oppenheimer said the same thing. Let's see. I have an example here. Nope. So you can see, yeah. If you go to the website, this is the website. You can check out the projects already built on this. We have a command line version you can run locally. And of course you can get more information. That's all cool. And our designers specifically wanted animals on the site, so we got some animals as well. But I think the most important for now is to show what it does. So this is the example of the documentation. You can run all these commands locally as well. Very important if you have your own your legacy environment in which you want to run privately because of for safety, of course. As an example, I've included one. Let's see, about Lisk. And we've, for those who may have seen our presentation a few weeks ago, I see Sana smiling. I'm going to show you, for instance, what you can do agnostically. So I have our API is fully RESTful and enables you to gather information from your chains and transact with them. So I'm going to try, give me this sample information of Lisk here. So we have the sample address we put in. And you can see it returns, let's see where it is, there it is. It returns the address of the sample and the last transaction. So okay, I mean, let's give me the information about the transaction then, to see what's in it. I post it here. Show me in the command line. It's waiting, so it's getting it from the blockchain. And you can see what's the idea. When was it sent? That's the epoch. How much, what's the current ticker, the symbol, what fee was used. Let's see, this is the source address and the target address, and if it was, or when it, yeah, if it was confirmed, and by how many nodes by now. And you can, for instance, also look up into that message, okay, it was sent, was there any data in there? For instance, if you have a system set up and you want to, see, you get a verification message. See, looking up. Oh. It's in a message from last New Year. These are just a few of the basic necessities to make use of a blockchain in your environment. For most of the applications, most of the business or financially driven applications like token exchanges, there's no necessity to have interoperability already built in across chains. We're working on that. We're working on our own swapping mechanism as well, as we're also thinking about integrating others to make it freely available for developers. For instance, support for an interledger module. What we've also been focusing on legacy systems, as that's what the world is dealing with right now. One of our example projects was at first to see if we can build in a listener, and we did, for the Twitter API, so that whenever Trump would tweet about the dollar, we would buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Eventually we shut it down. Well, that's my showcase basically of what we've been working on. And we're not alone in this. There are multiple projects working on this, and we think it's very important that the freedom of choice is kept along the development of your projects. Because any of these DLTs may collapse, or may become the big one, or may disappear. And so, yeah, that's my demo actually.